In San Francisco, the 49ers had a smallish linebacker named HardyBrown, who might have been the most destructive hitter of all time. 49er players measured an opponent's toughness by how he got up, if he got up, after being hit by HardyBrown.
30 years ago, the San Francisco 49ers fielded a team with 4 future Hall of Famers, but HardyBrown was not one of them. Number 33 was a skinny linebacker who captained the San Francisco defense in the mid-50s and whose career is nearly forgotten today. But time cannot dull the memory of how HardyBrown could hit.
Captain Charlie Connolly fires one to Bill's dribbling. All goes well until hard-hitting HardyBrown hurls his hefty hulk into the ball carrier, and it's a fumble with Rex Berry recovering for the 49ers.
Brown never used his arms while tackling. Only a well-timed shoulder to separate men from the ball and their senses.
He had an educated shoulder where he'd snap it up and be able to time it so he hit a ball carrier or whatever right underneath his choppers.
I have seen him put people out cold with that shoulder, and Hardy was not a big man. He was only about 195, 200 pounds, but boy, he learned how to put that hump into you from Tulsa, and he hit.
When Bob Waterfield got through playing for the Rams, one day he was crossing some street down there in L.A., and a Volkswagen hit him. And he got up, and they said, "You all right?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm all right, but I thought HardyBrown was in town." And that's it.
Perhaps HardyBrown's violent nature was shaped at the Masonic Home for Orphans in Fort Worth, Texas, where he was sent at the tender age of 5 to learn about life and football.
And my father was murdered, and they sent me and my brother and my sister out there, and that's when we started fooling around football. I had an older brother, and he started teaching all the guys to play football out there using that kind of a shoulder. And all those kids that played out to home there, they had to play that way or they wouldn't make the team. One year, we got to the semifinals, and we went to play Amarillo, Texas. And finally, they beat us 14-7. And they came in our dressing room and said, "You guys sure block funny." We said, "Why?" They showed us their lips, and they said, "All of us are split lips."
Football took HardyBrown out of the orphanage and sent him to Tulsa University, then on to the 49ers, where he developed the skills of a solid pro linebacker. But it was Hardy's unique method of mayhem that made him a folk hero among those he played with and against.
I've seen HardyBrown knock the helmet right off a player, hit him in the chest, chin, boom. The player's feet would continue down. You would see him running like this player, up in the air, helmet off, and just spread eagle.
Every time we'd play the Chicago Bears, Hallis would have the officials come in and inspect Hardy. Always thought he had a steel plate or something up on his shoulder pad. Hardy was a linebacker, and probably a very most punishing linebacker I think that I've ever known, who could throw a punch with exact timing and hit a guy right on the point of the nose. And that's usually where Hardy aimed for, the point of the nose.
It was kind of like a Jack Dempsey punch. It didn't need but 6 inches. That's all it needed, and you went to sleep.
You see these westerns, you see guys have niches on their belts for guys that killed. Why, HardyBrown had niches on his belt for all the jock straps he got. He put more people to sleep with a shoulder lick than anybody I've ever seen.
Take one step forward, keep your back straight, keep your eyes open, and shoot. Over the years, I guess I've got 75 or 80 knockouts playing professional football. No, I don't feel sorry for anybody I hit. I really don't. So they want to get me, too. The Rams had a $500 deal for my getting knocked out of the game, and I found out about it. And the guy that told me was a guy that was in the backfield with me at Tulsa, Paul Berry. And I said, "Paul, if you get to play, come in and hit me, and I'll fake and go out, and we'll split that $500 $2.50 a piece.
Hardy, it's been almost 30 years since you've played, and the game's changed a lot since then. What do you think of the NFL today?
I think it's a sissy game. They won't let a linebacker meet a guy coming across the line or anything. And you know what I'd do? If I was playing for some team and one of the good ends came across, well, I'd take a whack at him and knock him out so that we wouldn't have to fool with him anymore. I might cave a few teeth in.
During the whole time that you played, Hardy, did you ever come across anybody you felt was as tough as you were? Somebody you know who could hit as hard as you could?
Nobody. Nobody.
HardyBrown. He may have been the most feared man to ever play football. Those that saw him play would probably say so. When he was 5 years old, he witnessed his father being murdered. And then just a few months later, he witnessed a family member take revenge on one of the people that was responsible for his murder. There's countless stories out there about him and his vicious shoulder tackle. So I'm hoping after today, I know you may have never heard of him, maybe some of you have never heard of him, maybe a lot of you have never heard of him. Hopefully after today, you'll understand his place in football history. And sadly, a lot of people have forgotten about him. But there are countless stories out there of him not only injuring players, but knocking them out. In Y.A. Tittle's book, it said that he knocked out 21 players in one season. Now, you would never see that in today's game, obviously, but back then football was a lot different. And he was a feared player. There's a story of Gil Maines of the Detroit Lions who he went after. So Gil Maines went after him originally, dove and spiked him in his thigh. HardyBrown had to get 20 stitches, came back into the game, and then knocked Gil Maines out of the game. But there are countless stories, and I'm going to let you kind of do your own research on this guy and see some of this stuff. Maybe I'll try to put some links in the description, kind of guide you into some places where you can learn more about him. But also, very interesting, there was a movie put out about him I think back in June or July, and I just watched it the other day, and I really enjoyed it. So it's called 12 Mighty Orphans, and it shows his life kind of growing up or in the orphanage and playing football and the story behind that. And there's also another football player that went to that same orphanage named Tex Coulter, he has several football cards, actually. I think he has a 1948 Bowman, and I think he's also in the 1950 and 51 and maybe 52 Bowman. I'm not real sure about the 52. But I find that just really interesting. And, this team was really stacked. I mean, they had a lot of Hall of Famers. They had Y.A. Tittle was on the team, Leo Nomalini, Bob St. Clair, Joe Perry, John Henry Johnson, who else? Hugh McElhaney. This team was just absolutely loaded. I'm always amazed that Y.A. Tittle actually never won an NFL championship. That always surprises me. But one other interesting fact about this card is it has Carroll Hardy on here. Now, Carroll Hardy, I think he only played 1 year for the 49ers, but Carroll Hardy is more known for his baseball career. He played for the Boston Red Sox and is known for the only player to pinch hit for Ted Williams. In 1960, he pinch hit for Ted Williams. So again, this just shows you what you can learn about cards when you really start digging into them, especially these team cards. There's so many players on these team cards, and you just never know what you're going to find. Now, when it relates to HardyBrown, HardyBrown is only pictured on 2 football cards, this being one of them. The other one is actually a team issue set from 1955. It's a team issue San Francisco 49ers set, and that card is almost impossible to find. I've actually been looking for one for about 3 years now. If anyone has one, let me know. I'd definitely be interested in it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you were able to learn something. Hope you can appreciate who Hardy Brown was and his place in NFL history. And until next time, take care.